cord to this. She is. There she is. She's always on time.
There she is.
She's on time every time.
It's always on time.
It's always on my mind. Wait, who sings that song? You're always as a Willie Nelson. You're always on my mind.
Oh yeah.
His granddaughter is hilarious. Very talented, but she has a podcast that's really good. She's really, really good. Like a great entertainer, but also super funny. Yeah. Could you imagine being Willie Nelson's granddaughter? Well, she's Willie Nelson's granddaughter, so she's Willie Nelson's son's daughter, and her dad died like really early. Because if you're Willie Nelson's son, you've probably gotten 60s. Into some shit.
Yeah, and you're in your 60s and 70s.
Well, no, he died early. He died a while ago. I think like drug overdose or something. Like, I think they said suicide. So the final determination was he committed suicide, but then like even she said it doesn't add up. Like his daughter is like, that doesn't add up. So murder? She's trying to like, yeah, essentially that he was murdered. She's trying to get like an investigation, but has been unsuccessful in like opening it back up. Because there's all, I guess she says, speculation that there's all this evidence to suggest that that's not the case.
Huh. I always question those narratives where someone's like, he was such a good person, he would never do that.
Yeah, right. I always love that. That's what that lady said about, and I'm not here to get into a fucking political racist debate here, but that's what was said about remember the kid in St. Louis, that Michael Brown kid who was like charging the cops?
Mm-hmm.
It was a while ago. Like his mom came out and she was like, he was such a sweet boy, he was going to do things, he wouldn't harm anybody. And then they went through his arrest record and he'd robbed like 7 different places, like at gunpoint, assaulted multiple people. It's like,
yep.
Well, no, you can't say that objectively because he has harmed people.
He was always so happy. He would never commit suicide.
Yeah, I think that's just like the delusional state that parents go in. And I don't even know if it's so much like not my kid versus like, you know, like they're in a state of mind that like things just don't make sense in the moment, right? They haven't had time to reflect. It's a time of mourning. It's I don't know. That's an interesting thing. Anyway,
could you imagine being so mentally distraught that you're always putting on that smile, that fake smile? I'm so happy. And then you walk into your room finally by yourself and you're just like,
I see people put on that fake smile nearly daily.
Yeah.
Like pretty much daily. And you're like, ugh. Yeah. Like you can just tell that, you know, there's nothing but pain and misery behind those eyes. Yeah, kind of sad. It's a sad state to be in. I feel like, yeah. I mean, I get it to an extent. I know, like a lot of people don't want to burden other people with their problems, so that's like a reason for holding it in, like the fake smile, like everything's great.
Mm-hmm.
But you just harm yourself in the long term. I feel like more doing that. Anyway, we didn't get a chance to talk about it last week. I don't know how much time we can talk about it this week. Depends on how much cigar news we want to get into. But you know, last week's episode was another episode of Secret Smoke. Now, here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to spend just a quick few moments on Secret Smoke. People are getting these way too quickly, and it's very annoying. So here's what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch up the dynamic of this whole thing to, instead of once a month, once every 3 months. Once every 3 months, I'll be able to do a much larger selection of cigars. Hopefully solicit more participation. And I feel like at that point, we can make some of these things a bit more challenging. So that's objective number 1 in doing that. Objective number 2 is because people are very quickly figuring out, and I think a lot of it is like the power of Google, right? Like people aren't just using their brain power. It's no different than going to a bar and playing trivia and then pulling out your phone to get the answers. We're still going to do the hints. We're going to have to make them a little bit more obscure and a little bit harder now. Mm-hmm. But on top of that, instead of awarding the first person who guesses it correctly, instead of getting that, like that person being selected as the winner, what I will do is I will see all the people, anybody who's got the correct answer. And then at the end of the week, those people will go into a randomizer and then randomly be picked. because too many people are getting them correct. And I feel bad because like this week, the person who won last month won again this week and was like 5 minutes ahead on their guess of the person who guessed it right behind them. And I'm like, well, that sucks. You know what I mean? Like, good for this person to get it twice, but sucks for the other person who was just minutes behind with the same guesses, not being able to get it. So I think what I do is just like, hey, anybody who gets it correct, and maybe limit it to one guess instead of one guess per day, and then just make the selection, like the giveaway, a lot larger, right? Instead of like 5 cigars. Well, this time it was like 9 cigars plus a hat, but maybe do like, oh, it's going to be 25, 30 cigars plus maybe some swag, and really solicit some good competition. It's kind of what I'm thinking.
We also could geocache the entire winnings.
I don't know what that means.
Like, go find it somewhere out in the world.
Dude, that would be sweet. Yeah, I've heard about people doing that shit where they like go on these little treasure hunts and stuff.
Yep.
That's literally the lamest thing I've ever. That's as lame as Pokemon Go.
No, not for the cigar people.
Yeah, but Chris.
Hey, visit this shop and buy one cigar and they'll give you your hint. So you go to the lounge.
I mean, that would be kind of cool.
You buy one cigar and they give you, your hint is purple dinosaur.
Don't you think like the amount of like preparation that goes into that is pretty intense though?
Not if the winning is so astronomical, so unbelievable that you would choose not to participate.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. You make it so worth somebody's while.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Now you might spend, I don't know, $4,000 on airfare and hotel accommodations and car rentals. But at the end of the day, you'll win like $100 worth of cigars.
That's true. Yeah. That would be funny. Yeah, you couldn't really do it. Yeah. Maybe you have to do it virtually, you know? Like have someone scour the internet, look for clues on like other people's websites, start piecing it together. Yeah, they're just too easy, you know, and it doesn't make it fun. So we'll switch to once every 3 months. Accumulate more for you guys, make the prize much grander than it is now. And then we'll do a randomizer for all those who guess it correctly. And I think that's a good start. So we didn't get a chance to reflect on why, so we didn't have an episode 2 weeks back. And it's because Chris and I were both in Austin for the F1 race. And Chris, you said there were stories that you're going to tell me, and we've elected to not talk about them up until this point. So I said, hey, maybe that's good content for the podcast. Now I'll just say this. First of all, if one thing in your life, if you ever get a chance to do, and I've been to a lot of sporting events, been to a lot of football games, professionally, college, been to basketball, been to soccer, been to baseball throughout my entire life, been to a lot of hockey games. I have to say, the excitement, enthusiasm, and energy around an F1 race is unlike anything I've ever been a part of. So if you've never done it, and even if you don't like F1 racing, if it ever is in a city close to you, as it visits Austin, at least it has, and hopefully will continue to, but we'll see, visits Austin every year. If you're anywhere in Texas, like close to Austin, even if you're in Dallas, even if you did a trek from Houston, like just go. It is such an amazing time. I had literally the best time I've ever had at like a sporting event. Now, Chris, how was your experience? So we were down there for different reasons. I was down there for vacation, leisure, and pleasure. I needed to take a break. So I went down and was at the track every single day, which is fantastic. But you were down there for a different reason. You were actually down there to, you were hustling, you were working. So how was the experience for you? How would it differ from my experience, which is more relaxation and leisure?
Yeah, mine was a bit chaotic, to say the least. Cops, person punching my vehicle.
Did that really happen?
It really happened.
No, it didn't.
Swear to God.
This is one of the things you're keeping from me?
Yeah.
Someone punched your fucking...
Yeah, in front of his kids.
Someone punched a van. Who punches a fucking van? It's a van. Like, I'll show you, van. So
I've got a lot of stories. Maybe we'll spread this out over multiple episodes. But
maybe it's one day.
The last day of the trip for most of the clients that I was responsible for taking to and from the racetrack to their hotels, right? That was my job. Do this, Chris. Make sure everybody's happy. Be friendly. Put on a happy face. Don't ask too many questions. Don't poke and prod. If they want to talk to you, talk to them. If they don't want to talk to you, be quiet.
Don't ask any questions.
That type of thing, right? Coming from various walks of life and various professions, various wealth statuses, social statuses.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Anyways, so the last day, I didn't even get to watch the end of the race because I had to take two of the clients who had booked a 7 p.m. flight out of Austin. And the race was going to roughly end 3:30-ish maybe. But we wanted to make sure that they got to the airport on time and didn't want to have to deal with the traffic of people coming out of the grandstands and the racetrack where we would get stuck in traffic for over an hour or however long perceivably, because this was the biggest race in history, basically. So we wanted to beat the traffic. So I asked these clients to meet me where I parked in Lot H, and they so graciously did in the nearly 90-degree weather and humid, dry, nasty weather. Well, that doesn't make sense. Not humid, dry. That doesn't make sense. It was humid. It was more humid than it should have been for an Austin, but I guess it's humid in Austin. I don't know. Anyways, so I meet them at my van in Lot H. They hop in. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. We got all their luggage put in the back of the vehicle, ready to go. Anyways, so I'm trying to figure out how am I going to get out of this place to get out of here and head to the Austin airport, because there was even cars still leaving at that time. I'm like, what are you doing missing half the race? What are you doing?
The people behind us left halfway through the race, and I'm like, why even come?
So I'm circling this parking lot, okay, and I'm thinking, how am I going to get out of Lot H? Because I couldn't go back the way I came because they were trying to force all of the traffic in a big giant circle out the same keister. They're like, you're coming out the back end of this track. Everyone comes out this way. So I was going through the parking lot H and
Can I interrupt with an analogy in terms of the parking situation there?
Sure.
Imagine you have 1 million toilets and everybody's shitting in those toilets at one time. But the piping that comes out of those toilets all coming together is about the size of one single toilet. That's how much shit you have to fit down that pipe. That's essentially what parking is like at the Circuit of America's track.
Yes.
Continue.
One pipe, lots of ass shit. So I've never been to this track. This is my first weekend ever there, and I'm kind of getting used to it, but they kept changing the rules of the road throughout the weekend, which kept you on your toes. So I'm trying to figure out how to get out of this fucking parking lot. And as I circle, I'm like, fuck, can't get out this way. So I got to circle back through Lot H, and I'm trying to figure out how to get it out of this place. And my clients go, I think there was a way out of H. It looked like a parking spot, but it's a small little road that'll actually get you out onto the turn past the Circus of the America Boulevard, as they call it, and go out there. I was like, oh shit, I didn't even see it. I was like, okay, well, I'll circle back through the parking lot again and I'll go out that way. Keep in mind, this has already happened once. I've done one circle on Lot H. So as I circle back around, I come across a group, probably 6 or 7 people. Children, adults, maybe even a grandparent. I wasn't paying too close attention, but I'm sitting there chit-chatting with the clients, looking for this mystery hidden exit road to the boulevard. Well, I'm coming across these people and they clearly don't hear me. A vehicle coming up behind them, and I'll tell you why they didn't hear me. I was driving an electric vehicle, so
wait, you're an electric van?
Yeah, under 35 miles an hour, it's all electric, so you don't hear shit.
Oh, yeah, that'll sneak up on you.
So I'm slowly cruising up behind this family who don't see me, and I don't want to honk my horn at them.
Did you bump them? Did you bump them with your bumper? Oh, God, that'd have been great.
So as I'm coming up behind them, They're just like weaving in the parking lot, all 6 of 7, like a fucking school of fish. And I'm like, I need to get around them. So as I see this break to the left, and there's no other cars around me other than this group of people in this parking lot, I decide to slowly creep at 5 miles an hour, veering off to the far left, veering as far as I possibly can in order to avoid hitting these people without honking and scaring everybody and blah, blah, blah. So, because, I was like, I don't know what they're doing. So as I start to go around them, I'm going around them. I'm beginning to pass around them. Well, I think everybody else got the hint that there was a vehicle near them, but clearly this guy did not. As he begins to walk, I'm coming around the left-hand side. He decides he just wants to fucking quick turn left, damn near running into the vehicle himself, not me hitting him, him running into the vehicle. As he does, he gets so fucking pissed off, I can hear him screaming, and then he starts punching the back of the vehicle and he's in front of his children, in front of his entire family, is punching my rental van that I have used to transport clients to the hotel and to the track. He punches my vehicle. I hear him screaming. It wasn't in English. I think it was French. He was wearing Ferrari, so I'm associating it closely with Italian. So anyways, he was definitely wearing Ferrari gear. So I'm going around him. He almost walks into me. I think he got spooked and startled and scared and pissed off all at the same time, that he begins to scream at me in a different language and punching the vehicle over and over again repeatedly. Even choosing to kind of keep up with my vehicle to punch it more. You know what I'm saying? So my clients are like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? What's up with it? We were going around him. I was like, I don't know. But, that made for an entertaining conversation of trying to understand why this guy was so pissed off.
Did he finally just give up?
Yeah, I pulled away too far. He didn't chase.
Was he kind of a chubby guy?
No, but he was probably a gentleman in his 50s, overweight, but not obese.
Here's what I always think about, especially like foreign people, especially at F1 races. And I've just gotten this look down. Typically you can tell if somebody, like, there's certain like skin tone attributes, and there's obviously, if you hear someone speaking a different language, they're from another country, right? They're probably flew from another country to come see the race, which is very common. But what I noticed is a lot of the time, the people who are at the races from other countries tend to be dressed in clothes that are way too tight for them. So typically, if I see somebody who is not from the United States, they're in very tight fitting, like Ferrari outfit, Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, you name it, but it's sticking to their skin. Like, it looks like they just painted on. That's one telltale sign that you're dealing with a foreigner if you're at an event like that. Which is why I asked you if he was fat, and then I was going to follow up, was he wearing a tight shirt? Or jeans with sandals is also another one.
You have no clothes. Go. I have a naked child.
That's hilarious. We're going to have to blur that out. I don't think we saw anything.
No, he was in his underwear. But yeah, that's one story.
So funny. That's so funny. We got time for like another quick story if you've got another one.
Okay. This one, I will not use names for the sake of protecting their identity.
I know exactly what this is going to be about, or who it's going to be about, which makes it so much more exciting.
I was cleanup crew for the entire group. I was the guy that stuck behind in the parking lot, waiting for clients that don't pay attention to their call times for being taken back to the hotel.
Yeah, you're kind of I think like you're like that naturally though, Yeah. Like you're always the person that's going to make sure everything's cool.
Yeah. So I stayed back. There's many more stories about that in particular, but I'll say for this short story, it was a Saturday night. I drop off my clients finally. Everybody else is back at the hotels, but I'm getting text messages and calls from the entire team going, "Hey, just dropped off this group. I'm back to the hotel. We're going back to the racetrack to watch Billy Joel or hang back." Right? I get a text from this gentleman, and he goes, "Hey, are you on your way back?" And I'm like, "I just got done dropping off my group, so I'll be heading back to the hotel as well. I don't think I'm going back out because I only have a smaller van, so it wouldn't make sense to take a smaller van back out because of more people that we need to fill in the van." So he's like, "Well, when you do come back and you reach the hotel, make sure to text me to let me know you're back here." And I'm like, "Okay."
But not like a fatherly or parental gesture, as in like, "Hey, text me when you get back here. We're about to fuck some shit up."
Possibly. Now, once you hear the rest of the details, you realize that both of those scenarios don't play a part in this.
Okay.
But as I'm coming back to the hotel, it's 8 something at this point, and I reach the parking lot of our hotel, and I park it, and I go upstairs, and I open the door. Now, to preface, I was running back. I just wanted to get back inside. I didn't respect him enough or even remember to text him to say, "Hey, I made it back."
It's funny because that sounds like you.
So, yeah, it's very much me. So,
That's really funny, actually.
I go up the elevators, 6th floor. Beep. Ding. Walk out. Walk down the hallway. Put up my little key card to the door. Beep. Open the door. Walk in the hotel room. All right. Keep in mind the gentleman who asked me to text him to let me know when I arrive is in the room.
Oh, you were roomies with this person?
Yeah. And another gentleman. Anyways.
Oh my God. How many did they fit in there?
We fit 3 in this room.
Were you in a suite?
There's 2 queens. 2 queens.
Oh, that does not sound like enough accommodation for a group of
I slept on the couch. There's
old gentlemen.
Like a pull out couch bed thing. Okay. Anyways, I say all that to say this and prefaced with I did not text him. I walk in the door. He's in his bed.
Oh, I don't want to know.
He's under the sheets.
I don't want to know.
And he's butt ass naked.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, the person I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh.
So imagine the awkwardness I felt. And he remains underneath the sheets until I gather up my stuff, quickly change my clothes that were covered in dirt from the track and whatnot, and leave the room. He stayed underneath the sheets, not moving, for the duration of me going, "Ooh, this is not great."
Why though? Why did he do that? Why?
I don't know. It made no sense to me.
Oh, that's terrible.
So
that's terrible. That's bad.
So, I mean, I can only speculate because I didn't want to look further than I had to out of surprise and angst. But I'm going to assume he was jacking off. And I'm assuming he was jacking off to the cooking station that was on. I don't know why he was watching cooking, but he was.
He's like, I really like to come to a good brulee.
Those cooking challenge shows?
Like Paula Deen and those crab cakes.
So
get off to that.
I think I just said like one word, which was like, "Hey," and then like quickly got dressed and like skedaddled out of that room.
Dude, that's so fucking gross. Just knowing this particular gentleman in my own head, I'm going, ew. Yucky. Gross.
I should have texted.
That's hilarious. He doesn't listen to the podcast, does he?
Well, if he does, hopefully he's dumb enough not to know it's him.
It would be funny if he listened to the podcast and goes, "Wonder who that was."
That must be someone else he knows.
Oh, that's dude, too good. That's really funny. Yeah, that's the same person that's like, every girl that lives in Dayton looks like a dog. And you're like, I looked at him and I was like, dude, he looks like an old beaten up poodle. Like, are you kidding me? How you dogging on the females? Like, I'm sorry, you know.
Yeah. To be continued on the stories. There's more.
Very, very, very funny, Chris. That was that was great. That was definitely worthwhile. I'm glad we got a few of those stories in, because I don't have that many meaningful stories. I just have like, you know, good memories about the whole thing, but not necessarily like, you know, like, oh, there's this crazy thing that fucking happened. It's like, not really, you know.
Yeah.
I did the one thing that still baffles me even like to this day, after, you know, you hear so much in like you know, history books, you know, the start of America, some of the battles and fights in particular with like the Mexicans during a certain period of time, right? And all in association to Alamo. The Alamo is like a very, very popular historical thing that is taught in schools and so on. Carlisle, hush it. And what I thought was interesting is like the tale is that of like the movie 300. It's a lot versus a little, and the little find a way to persevere, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the Alamo essentially. It's like that heroic tale.
Yeah.
I went there and I just looked at it and went, huh. You're telling me, according to the lore, that somewhat like 6,000 fucking Mexicans couldn't infiltrate this place? Dude, the walls are like the size of a privacy fence.
What were the Mexicans throwing rocks?
I guess I said I could lob one hand grenade over that wall and take over that whole place. I was baffled when I looked at it, and I thought I may have offended somebody who was there actually like reading part of the exhibit, because Lauren and I didn't like take a tour. We just walked up. It's literally just next to like a downtown city street. It's just right. I thought it was like out in the country. It's not. It's like in the middle of the city. And I walked up and you see the front of the building, which is iconic, right? Very historic. And I walked up and I went, huh. And there's like two that looked like two tourists, and they had like little fanny packs on, looked like a father and son and a wife, and they were like intently reading the thing. And I looked at Lauren and I go, how in the fuck did this happen? It's like out loud I went, how did they hold them off? I was like, I could have taken this over with a bow and arrow. Like, this place is like, I feel like you could kick over one of the walls. I was like, it doesn't look very fortified at all. I also think maybe there's like two, let's call them officers, but they're like security guards, like special Alamo security guards, whatever. And I think they heard me, and I think they were somewhat offended, where I was like, I don't get it.
I know how to beat Alamo. Let's debunk this shit.
Okay. Did you get a chance to see it when you were in San Antonio?
Absolutely did not. I went to the Bang Bang Club.
I bet it's more fortified than the fucking Alamo.
Yeah, pretty much. No windows. 6,000 Mexicans, right?
Listen,
roughly.
No. Here's the thing. Here's the exaggerated number.
It's probably like 600.
History would tell you it's anywhere from 1,500 to 6,000. So let's split the difference.
We'll say I'll run with the lower number, right?
Okay.
1,500. How much people were inside of it? 300?
I think like 300 something.
All right. 1,500, 300, over 5 times more, right? 6 times ish.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
Okay.
5 times.
They gotta keep reloading these firearms, right? And I know they probably had a shit ton of black powder, pellets, bullets, whatever the fuck they used. right?
Well, there's no powder back then with muzzle loaders, Chris. You loaded the black powder and then you loaded the actual
pellet
projectile inside the barrel.
Right. Okay. So 1,500, 300 men arming the walls of the great Fortress Alamo. All rifles overhanging the wall, firing at 1,500 angry, vicious, evil Mexicans. Because that's how they would portray it, I'm sure. So firearms then weren't that accurate. Right?
No, not at all. Horribly inaccurate.
Let me ask you this. How many Mexicans do you think you're going to kill if all 1,500 of them crawl commando style all the way to the walls?
Not too many. You're going to miss a lot of them. Unless they just started throwing like black tar on them or some shit. I should probably look into the history a little bit more, but I would say for numbers' sake and just looking at the fort itself, it doesn't add up.
Could you imagine the frustration of the 300 people inside Alamo? Like, just fucking stand up so I can hit you. As 1,500 Mexicans crawl slowly towards the walls of Alamo.
It's like rippling water making its way towards you.
Good fucking luck.
I mean, whether that be the strategy or something else that they didn't do, come on. Like, dude, I saw that place and I was like, there's no way. There's no way that happened.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. But I don't know. Some historian's going to be like, well, you don't understand the landscape and you don't understand the tools used and you don't understand the warfare principles that existed back then. And this is why this happened, blah, blah, blah. And it's going to be blah, 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 blah. Still, sake of numbers doesn't make sense. All right. Let's move on. This is an episode of Overrated, Underrated. We have not done one of these episodes in quite some time. I'm really excited to do this. This is going to be the brand edition, not cigar edition. We still got quite a bit to roll through. And at one time I was a little concerned that we were going to roll through them too quickly. We're going to run out of content. But as new brands begin to come onto the market, I begin to add them to the rotation, and thus it kind of backfills some of the ones that we've already done. So we still have a really healthy amount of overrated, underrateds to get into. I do feel like my list is not accurate. I may have gone through some of these before. Although I thought it was as up to date as it possibly could be. I feel like I've reflected on the list and definitely talked about those guys, but maybe I haven't. Maybe we never did. Maybe I do have this right. Either way, let's get into it. Chris, are you ready to do our first overrated, underrated brand?
Ready, bro.
Let's go. All right. That brand is a brand that you're probably not going to be as familiar with, and that's Matilde, which is a brand that I've only smoked a couple times. Actually, the first time I had one of their cigars was in Vegas, ironically enough, because you couldn't really find them anywhere around here. Actually, you still can't find them around here. I think you'd be hard pressed to find one of their cigars anywhere in the humidors within like 50 miles. Yes.
Question.
Yeah.
Is this based off of the movie Matilda?
No, it's not, Chris. And I knew you were going to ask that question, and it annoys me the fact that I knew that. No, it's not. God, that little lispy ass bitch. God, I hate, worst actress on earth. When she stopped being a cute kid and became an adult that looked exactly like she did when she was a kid and had a worse lisp than she did in the movie she did when she was younger, she became so annoyingly unbearable that I'm glad her movie career completely failed.
She's a lawyer and an artist.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, sounds like she's got a good career going forward. That doesn't cause her to speak. So fantastic. Minus the lawyer one. I guess you have to talk in that, but artist, you express with your mind and your heart. Matilde. So I don't have much context to provide into this brand because I've only had it twice. The cigars that I had both times were decent cigars. Again, I'm not as familiar with the brand enough to give a huge dissertation about my thoughts and feelings. I still have one of the cigars downstairs, and it is a really, really large Vitola, which is why I haven't smoked it at all. Like, I don't smoke giant Vitola cigars like that. Like the bin that I have that I store my large Vitola cigars in usually stays pretty full because I just don't smoke them as much. But maybe I'll give myself a chance to go through this. Because I don't know enough about the brand and don't have enough experience beyond the 2 cigars I've had in the past probably 4 or 5 years, I'm not going to say anything other than I think they're appropriate at the time, simply because I don't have enough information to say whether or not they're really overrated or underrated as a brand. They're kind of one of those brands, though, that I do know, and I will say this, they're not talked about a lot. People smoke them, but it's not like this huge social media presence. They're not cigars that you see smattered on Instagram in terms of pictures and photos. Every once in a while, you'll see one out there, but they aren't an overly popular brand by any stretch, but they're known. They're just, it's like they're, I don't want to call them a hidden gem because I don't want to go as far as to say that, but they're out there. They're in the mix, but I think they're relatively quiet. They may have a pretty decent sized, like, they may have like a good, strong following, but it might not be a mighty one, if that makes sense.
Yes, I'll err on the side of caution and say, I don't fucking know.
And I don't fucking care.
I don't fucking care.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Here we go. This is always... Villiger.
Okay.
Hello. All right. This one I do have a little bit to talk about. I will say this. The La Vencedora. First Villiger cigar that I had. Really, really liked it. Thought it was a great cigar. Then I had some cigars after that one, and I didn't like them as much. I appreciate what they do. They are kind of a transitionary company because they do some of like the dry tobacco cigars. They do some 10 cigars. They're really popular for those things, which I am now starting to enjoy more and more. I actually picked up a Villiger box not that long ago, and I really do like some of the dry cured stuff that you can just pick up and you can start smoking. I think they do those exceptionally well, and that is obviously kind of the coined popularity that they have, both I think somewhat in the US market, but definitely over in the European market. Now, obviously, if you're working with this type of tobacco, starting or making a profile portfolio of regular premium tobacco cigars is kind of a natural move to make. And they did that. And I think they're okay. There's ones that hit and smoke really, really well. I had a TAA not that long ago I really enjoyed, but it's really like this. It's like they're either, the La Vencedora, which I really liked, or it's just like this thing, who the fuck blended this piece of garbage? It did, like, they just kind of don't make sense. There's a real lack of consistency with the brand overall, in my feeling at least. And I think maybe they don't take the US market super serious because they don't really see them out there as much promoting the brand, trying to get on shelves. You hear about them, but again, the association, I think, really with their brand is all kind of balanced with the 10 cigars that they have, some of the smaller format cigars that they've created, and then of course sell over in the European market.
I mean, I applaud their efforts for fucking making a typo and running with it for their brand name. But I would agree. Like, oh, we meant to call it Villiger, and then everybody's like, "What is this Villiger?" We're sticking with it. But I have found that the La Vencedor was good, but the other ones that we've had, I find them to be slightly underwhelming from a flavor perspective, like dull, I guess, and bland, and the price point
to me
is usually like 9 and 10.
Yeah, somewhere around there. They just kind of like, I feel like the flavors just never really made sense. It lacked balance. It's like someone just kind of found some tobacco and threw it together and said, hey, we blended this really good thing that you can put your name on. Here you go. And then, somewhat trying to be creative with the marketing and with the cigars themselves. Like, they had like a Brazilian one that came out. And I think, what was it? The Black Forest, I think, was one that came out not so long ago. It was a kind of highly pushed in terms of a marketing perspective. And then I smoked it and went, huh? Like, what is this? But it's weird because there are some really good cigars in the lineup, but then there's ones that just seem so insanely inconsistent in comparison to those good cigars. You go, well, that can't be from the same brand. Just doesn't make sense.
Their price points aren't bad, but
They're not.
But they have a mixed lineup, right? They're like the Cleveland Browns.
Is that a racial thing?
No, but I just mean like 1 week they're really on.
Oh, gotcha.
Next week they're really off.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Well, I'm glad you provided some context to that.
Yeah. I mean, you could throw a bunch of white guys on there. I'm sure they do way worse. And that's not being racist. That's being statistical. But, but I don't know. I mean, I would agree. The lineup is a mixed review bag, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So you take the price point of them being around $9 on average of $10, even upwards of like 12, I think, for La Vencedora.
Yeah. And the one that I smoked was a very large Vitola, so that sounds about right.
Yeah, I don't know. What's your? I'm curious. I'm a little undecided if I want to say, overrated or kind of right where I guess they should be. If the price points were higher, I'd be like, guys, tone it down a little bit.
Yeah, I don't. That's a good question.
Isn't it? That's a food for thought question right there.
It's a food for food question.
Does
anyone ever do that?
Food for food?
Yeah, just maybe a little food for some more food.
I've tried to feed my hamburger French fries before.
Wouldn't that be cool if someone actually did that? That'd be dope. Yeah, no, I kind of look at the brand to me overall. I'm going to say just because I think there is so much inconsistency around it. And I really don't think I don't know. I don't want to say they don't care about the US market. That's not what I mean, but I don't know. They're just kind of in the mix. Don't make a really huge statement. I think they're slightly overrated. Just slightly. I want to err more on the side of appropriate. And I'm really just kind of saying overrated because I want to be a little controversial right now because I didn't get to be on the first one.
I'll be that dude too. You think they're overrated? Bro.
Yeah.
You don't know a good brand if it smacked you right in your pucker lips. I think this brand is adequate.
Oh, shit. Look at that. Look at you coming to save the day.
I was going to go underrated, but I couldn't stand by that.
What Chris does when he does this, when he takes my controversial attitude, he balances out to make sure that there's a potential for sponsorship long term. So
yeah,
commend his effort.
The diplomat.
All right, moving on. I got to remember these. Who do we have so far? Matilde and Villiger. Should probably mark those off my list.
I got another theory about the Mexicans, about the 1500. That could have been really effective.
So, how long do we want to talk about Camacho?
Oh.
Yeah, I know. That's what I always say. Like Camacho comes up, like any one of these brands that I just have real big problems with, I just go,
okay. First, I'm just gonna come out first and say overrated, but then I'll explain a lot of details. All right, the price point of a Camacho is not hateful. There's a lot of Camachos that are infused, kind of gimmicky, got a variety of different tobaccos from all around the world in Camachos. But you know the one thing that makes me think they're overrated, Cory? Is that most retail stores are expected to have a Camacho branded unit to hold and supply their cigars.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same because they're a Davidoff sub-brand. Of course they're doing that. Avo does the same thing. There's not always a strict requirement to do that for Camacho, but I think it's, for some places it may be a requirement. Some other places it's probably likely very encouraged. Yeah, I don't like Camacho as much as I don't like Avo, and for very similar reasons, right? And I always say this, I'm a massive Davidoff fan because I think the tobacco used in Davidoff cigars is just insanely superior.
Yeah.
You hope to get that same sort of experience from an Avo, from a Camacho, and you don't. I mean, they're always off. I've never had a Camacho that I've liked. And it's just like Avo. We were talking about the Caribe. the Caribe,
Caribe.
Caribe. It was kind of like that one. It was like I was really excited to smoke it. Gave it tons of props for the construction. Loved the way that it looked, and I was like, okay, maybe finally I'll smoke a Avo that I really enjoy. I think the same thing about Camacho, and I think the association to Davidoff gives me like this. I think it gives me this this hope that isn't really I shouldn't have. You know what I mean? Like it gives the part of the association. Like my brain tells me like, oh, you're going to like it. And I think there's just a falsity to that. I just think their cigars are just subpar. They're not superior cigars. I think they just, I get that you have to have, if you have Davidoff that is, you've created this brand that is upper echelon. Everything in Davidoff is upper echelon. You can't buy a Davidoff cigar sub 10. So you've got to come up with these other categories of brands that may fall more in alignment with the low teens in terms of dollar amount. And then the Camachos that could be all the way, obviously sub $10. I guess you have to create those levels, but I think they sacrifice so much maybe in other processes to get that price point that there may be utilization of their tobacco. Maybe it's not as a refined blending process, whatever it may be. It always falls short because we always look at it and say, okay, if we're going to make a comparison of cigars that we want to smoke on a regular basis and we find these other cigars, let's say we just use the price point of $8, right? We'll use that as the comparison marker. Yeah. Camacho X costs $8. And with the understanding that there may be a sacrifice in terms of like quality of tobacco used, maybe even going to the production process or whatever, you and I could both name a ton of cigars at the $8 price point that we would happily smoke every single day. That's never going to be a Camacho for me. It's never, because I think there's so much superior tobacco out in the world these days. I think there's so much emphasis on quality now, especially for organizations that are under U.S. operation, that when you're smoking a Camacho and you start to compare those two, which there's a ton of sub $8 or sub $10 cigars, even around the $8 price point, that are absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to smoke those every time. There's superior quality, superior flavor, and Camacho just is subpar in comparison. It's just a reality.
Maybe they treat Camacho like they do Avo, like, dear mama, today is such a bad day. Very, very bad. I've never experienced such oppression. Maybe they got the same sad story.
Yeah, it's very possible.
Avo has. Like, Davidoff's just like, yeah, you're our bitch. Like, like that like little brother that you always tell what to do. Like, come on, Mikey, let me play. Like, no, you little faggot. No, I shouldn't have said that.
You can't use the F word.
But that's how they talked in the 90s. Yeah. So this is all for historical reference, by the way, because this is a very historical episode. But you get my point. I feel like Davidoff is just a big brother bully, man. Maybe Camacho has no say in it. Like, you want us to do a bourbon age? What?
Yeah.
I like a good bourbon, but
you know what though? There's something to be said for the marketing aspects of Camacho, because they really do kind of market themselves more towards like a rough and tumble consumer base, right? You've got the Liberty, you've got the barrel age. They do a lot with motorcycles. You have, what was the one with the silver band that I can't think of the fucking name now, that was Power something. Was that right? Something like that. I don't know. Iron Fury. I don't fucking know. But they do a lot of that shit. I think they're marketing towards a specific audience. That audience, probably because of the marketing, attaches themselves to a little bit to the cigars. And they maybe that's what Camacho wants. But for cigar smokers like us, it doesn't really hit the mark, right? Like, I think, not that I'm not going to bash, the fucking bikers of the world, Hell's Angels, get off, I don't want to be on your shit list, but you probably don't know a lot about cigars. You may like to smoke them, and Camacho may fit that look and feel that you like, but you probably don't know that much.
Can we all just agree that we like our cigars and our bourbon separately? We don't need.
Yeah, I don't need barrel aged
in my cigar.
I don't need it. I totally agree. I don't need barrel aged bullshit. I'm not really going to try those cigars. There's one I think that I really like, which I'm saving for an episode of cigars. Remember, we talked about doing an episode of cigars we hate to admit we like. That cigar is one of them. Like I don't need that shit barrel. I don't need a special edition. I don't need a maker's edition. I don't need barrel aged. I don't need this. I don't need that. I don't need all this fucking bullshit gimmicky stuff that Camacho likes to do again for marketing purposes. Totally understand. Remember, I always say, when you put brand before blend, this is what you get. You get a Camacho. It's just a reality. So anyway, Camacho overrated. No question.
Yeah.
All right. We may be able to fit in 2 more. So let's power through.
Yeah. I'll definitely give you my strategy on these 1,500 Mexicans though, sometime in between the next one.
Oh, here we go. La Galera.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is cool. This is cool.
This is a good one. Okay.
This one is good. La Galera. Oh shit. So the first time I smoked a La Galera, I thought it was absolutely phenomenal, like game changer for me in terms of flavors. And I think part of that was just like first time I had one, and I think it was one of their more like spicy, pungent cigars, but that quickly kind of balanced out with a nice creaminess. But their cigars are kind of all over the place too. And I would not put them in the same category as Villiger. I think La Galera uses better tobaccos. I think they're much better blending processes. I don't smoke La Galeras enough, but I really like them. When I do smoke them, I really like them. I think they're a really good brand. I like what they do. I like what they produce. I think, honestly, I even think from a branding perspective is kind of cool. It's a little bit of new school mixed with a lot of old school, but I appreciate that. A lot of consistency there. I think they're a pretty decent brand. I kind of like them.
Shout out to their new release with the white label and teal.
Amen.
So I'm in the same ballpark with you. I've smoked a good number of La Galera, and while I won't say any of them are phenomenal, really, but they are good cigars. And the reason I smoke them probably as often as I have is because I can get most of them for $7.
It's a good point. You really can get them for a good price. That is true.
And they're good sticks.
I didn't even consider price, but that's a factor that you should certainly pay attention to with the La Galera brand because they really are not very expensive.
No, they're not.
And maybe that's why I kind of appreciate the brand as much as I do, is because for what you get, it's a pretty damn good deal.
It is.
And I think they have a lot of diversity in what they produce too. They don't stick with just kind of one thing or like one certain flavor profile. They do kind of bounce around the board a little bit. They've got some fucking beef to some of their Connecticut cigars. I think there's that one Connecticut. It's got like a red label on it. And I think it has a red footband. Dude, that thing hits hard. I'm not a huge Connecticut fan. That one has got some different flavors going on in it that I think I appreciate just kind of the change up of it. So I think they do some different things with tobacco. And I think you could tell that they like to experiment a little bit and really bring some different stuff out to the marketplace. Not afraid to try new shit. I appreciate that about the brand. I think they're pretty cool, actually.
I'll probably say a little underrated.
I think they're underrated. I think they're underrated because I don't think they get. I think they have a good reputation amongst the people that smoke them often, but I don't think they have a huge reputation in the United States. Maybe in other places, I think they're a lot more popular, but here, I think there's some room for them to grow for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's finish up with one more, shall we?
Sure. Like the Ohio State marching band, imagine 1,500 Mexicans all intricately moving back and forth like the Ohio State marching band. Fucking impossible to tell what they're fucking doing.
Oh, I forget how to pronounce this brand's name. Chogui. It's the ones with the bird. Is it like Fear the Bird? And that was before
cigar.
Yeah, they do. And that was before Blackbird came out. So these guys were like the bird brand before. They really have. It's the Dose 77. Is a really popular cigar. I think they've come out with other ones since then, but I'm not sure how much smattering they have in the U.S. marketplace. But I've had the Dose 77, and it's a pretty good cigar. Dominican brand, really good cigar. They were super popular when they came out. I think really I think from a brand perspective, they were onto something with the release of that Dose 77. It was really popular, more boutique style. But I think the problem is they never really followed it up with anything after that to keep the momentum going. And I think the brand a little bit in the US seemed to die off. I think it just kind of fell by the wayside, right? Because you have the inception of all these new brands coming in, a lot of people wanting to get into tobacco, a lot of people that have been associated in tobacco for a long time, starting their own brands and really making their way to the market. And I think it kind of shrouded the effort of these guys just a little bit. So not as popular as they once were when that release came out. But here's the thing. It's like if they release something in the market in the US and I know about it and I can get my hands on it, I'm definitely going to smoke it because I really like that Dose 77 a lot. I thought it was a great cigar.
Yeah, that was a good cigar. And so they have a couple, I guess.
Yeah, but you don't see them in the US. The Dose 77, I'll put it this way. The place that I've bought them consistently, and I still have a few in my humidor, is the Jungle Gyms, not too far away from where I live. But I find them in the bargain bin. They're not out in just the normal, they're literally, they've got them put in the bargain bin. You can buy them for like $5 or sub $5 per stick. So, they're obviously not doing well enough, performing well enough within that store to be on a main shelf. And I think that's part of the struggle, right? They've been there for a long time. And Dose 77's been in there for years. They're probably begging to get rid of them at this point. And they're such good cigars. And they're probably a brand that most people who walk in that humidor don't know about. Luckily for me, who likes those cigars and appreciates even that cigar that they put out. Guess what? I see it in the bargain bin. Daddy gonna grab it.
They're out of stock on small batch. So part of me feels like
production issues, maybe?
Production is just non-existent or really, really low.
Yeah, falling by the wayside a little bit. I don't know. I would love to find out from them. It would actually even be cool to talk to them. That's kind of a brand I'd want to talk to. Because, I think it was like Fear the Bird is what the inside of their label always says. And then Blackbird came out with their shit. And it's like, what are you trying to copy, bitch?
Chogui, you make no more blends.
Chogui. What's the gremlin? Mogwai?
Oh, yeah, Mogwai.
Mogwai.
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing, but a cho or a chaw. I think that's good to end it there. I think that's a good brand to end on. We could end on a very controversial brand, but this would take another like 40 minutes and I just don't have that kind of time. So, good episode. It's a good episode. Yeah. I've got the new digs behind. As you can tell, the background has changed. I don't have a green screen behind me anymore. And it's because podcast, I don't even want to call it studio. It's in my office, is being currently worked on. It's pretty much almost complete. So Chris and I will be able to do podcasts in person again, which is something that I know I've missed for a long period of time. I don't know if Chris has missed it as much, but I certainly miss doing in person. There's just a different dynamic to it. So this is currently being outfitted for us to be next to each other. And of course, we'll still have video that you guys can all tune into. And obviously you can listen. But from an environment perspective, I think it'll be much better for content's sake. So
we can touch each other again.
It's almost done. Well, let's not say it like that. We're brothers.
Well, you know what I mean. It's not sexual. It's platonic.
Sure. All right. Let's end the episode. Hey, everybody, do this. You can check out My Cigar Pack, our show sponsor. You can check them out at www.mycigarpack.com. November pack is on its way. October pack was awesome. Again, and I'll repeat it. It is the mix of the Room 101 factory direct cigars with Crown Heads being the touted brand that you'll receive in the actual My Cigar Pack subscription. So you can, I don't know if you've gotten those, if you can still get those. I don't know if the factory directs are still on Cigar Yard, but you can get some of the Crown Heads on Cigar Yard. Of course, that's the associated cigar website to buy just individual sticks and boxes from My Cigar Pack. So you can check them out too. But November's is on its way. I'm very, very, very excited. I get excited every single month when we get our delivery of My Cigar Pack because there's always yummy goodies in there. And I can't wait to see the factory direct stuff because I feel like it just keeps getting better and better. Like I love smoking those cigars more than I love smoking others. I don't know why. They're phenomenal. It's like literally the best deal you could ever get. So you check them out, www.mycigarpack.com. You can enter promo code HOT10 at checkout for $10 off your first pack. Again, that's mycigarpack.com, HOT10 at checkout for $10 off your first pack. Here we have it.
That's it.
That's it, and that's all. All right, Chris, been a pleasure as always.
Yeah.
I'm going to go look at a house with mom and force her to buy it.
Okay.
Because I'm very influential. All right. This will conclude episode 218. We'll be back at you next week, hopefully in person with episode 219. See you, everyone.